Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Lori Smith on Blog Talk Radio. It is Sunday morning, March 7th, 7 o'clock in the morning here, Calgary, Alberta time, and I'm glad you can be here. This is Child Abuse Prevention and Human Rights Abuse Prevention is up to us, and we just cover a various, sort of a wide, broad spectrum of everything relating to child abuse and human rights abuses and everything in between. And we're on for 30 minutes this morning, and it is a live streaming internet radio broadcast from Blog Talk Radio, and I do about 11 shows a week. And I'm not a professional. I don't have any professional counseling certificates or therapist certificates, and I'm just a person who sits on Blog Talk Radio. I pay to do this show, and I just do it because I study human rights, child rights, and I'm also sort of seeking out and searching out my own healing. And so, I thought, there's so many of us out there who have been abused, and who, whether it's domestic violence, domestic abuse, or child abuse. And I just thought, there's so many of us out there. Really, why not just bring people information that I find, and also just to be another voice, to stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves, children mainly, and also just to let people know that they're not alone. It's so important. Abuse is just such a sensitive topic, and nobody wants to talk about it. And I know I don't have any problems talking about it, but years and years I used to talk about it with my friends and stuff when I was growing up, because they grew up in abusive homes too, and we would talk about stuff and just try to help each other out. But then as an adult, you find that most people don't want to talk about it. And so for many years, just to avoid losing all my friends, because a lot of my friends would walk out of my life as soon as I would talk about my past, I actually stopped talking about it to people and didn't reach out, didn't get any help. And it's just so unfortunate, because just within the last, I would say 6 months or so, 7 months, I've really started reaching out, and just because I put my hand out there, all these hands came back to me, and it was like they were they were just reaching out to me, right? So I think this is so important, just for everybody to realize they're not alone, and to just reach out and find a good support group, find a good counselor, therapist. I totally support that. Probably will do that myself, even though I've walked out a lot of my healing issues, because I no longer want to self-harm. I don't do drugs. I don't plan my own suicide. And, I have come a long, long way. But it took me so long to get here. And I think about, how quicker and how much better it would have been to have support, especially as a young person. I could have used some support when I was a teenager, because I did a lot of drugs. And that's why all the last few Sundays, we've been talking about drug abuse and addiction, substance abuse and mental health. And last Sunday we were talking about it's an article I found on Help Guide, www.helpguide.org, and it's called Substance Abuse and Mental Health: Overcoming Alcohol and Drug Addiction While Coping with Depression or Anxiety. And I just thought, the two go hand in hand. A lot of times people do drugs and drink alcohol because they are looking for an escape many times, or just looking for a coping mechanism, thinking, if I could just do these drugs or drink this alcohol, I'll feel better, or, you know what I mean? I know, I've been there, I've done it, and it doesn't help anything. It just makes things worse. But the sad thing is there's so many people suffering with that. I know there is. My family was a good example of that. Not my parents, but all of my, not all of the siblings, but about 4 of us, 4 siblings out of 7, turned to drugs and alcohol to relieve and just to try to escape the abuse that we were existing in. And people just thought I was kind of crazy and kind of like a cool kid, like somebody, oh wow, look at her, she's got a car, she does drugs. They had no idea what was going on in the home, except for my close friends who actually witnessed the abuse and knew the whole issue behind it. So most other people just kind of thought I was a little bit crazy, and the younger people kind of thought I was sort of cool. And so I developed sort of an attitude that I was cool, and the thing is I was killing myself. I was literally dying inside, and my spirit was dead, and I really needed help, and it's unfortunate that I didn't get it. But I'm happy to be here today, and I can say, I'm almost in my mid-40s. I don't do drugs. I quit using drugs, and I rarely drink. I drink once in a while. I can control that, because I never did really like alcohol that much. But I don't allow myself to drink because, on a regular basis, because I know that I have an addictive personality. And, when I like to do something, I like to do it all the time. So I don't allow myself to drink for that very reason. I'll just have a drink here and there just to have a drink. But I know how to control that. And I've been drug-free since I was 21. And, that's a long time. And I'm happy to be able to say that because my life would be such a mess right now had I continued on with the drug use. I might not even be here. So that's why it's so important for us to reach out and get some help. And so many times people, it's not, you do drugs for reasons that are just so sad already. These co-occurring, issues such as depression or, post-traumatic stress disorder and all this, just different things in our lives. Are sort of they don't cause the problem, but when the drug use and those are mixed together, it just becomes worse because now there's a whole mess of problems. So that's why this article is so good. And you can go there. You can check this article out for yourself because we're just finishing up today. www.helpguide.org. And it is called, again, I'll give that to you again, Substance Abuse and Mental Health, Overcoming Alcohol and Drug Addiction While Coping with Depression or Anxiety. And if you're a person who think you might be triggered by the topic of abuse or any of these related topics, please listen at your own discretion. I don't want anybody to regress in their healing process, and we all know where we are in our healing process. So if it's a show that's going to trigger you, please just turn it off because it won't hurt my feelings. Better you to be safe, right? Because you want to keep moving forward in your healing, and so you got to know what you can listen to and what you can't, and be very, very much aware of what's going to trigger you and cause you to kind of feel bad. Because I don't know that, but you will. So if you just think that the subject or the topic is just too much, right? Please turn the show off. You listen at your own discretion. And young people, young people under the age of 18, especially younger, make sure you have someone who's listening to this with you because there's so many crazy people out there online trying to get a hold of kids, and I'm a big one to promote online safety. And so I really ask that children and young people, for your own safety, make sure that you have someone in your life who knows what you're listening to and who's going to be there to support you. And, unfortunately, I know there's so many children out there, that's why I do these shows, that don't have a parent or a caregiver who actually cares what they're listening to or cares about them, period. So I know, and my heart is with you, my parents didn't care what I was doing, and that's why I ended up doing a lot of drugs, and, it was bad. So I just think if you have someone like a counselor or a teacher, a special person in your life, a neighbor who's you hang around with their kids and the mom or the dad seems all right, and you trust somebody in your life, I sure hope you have someone in your life that you can trust to listen to the show with you one day, and just to see if it's something you should be listening to. I really think that's important because I don't know where the players are now. And so, you might have questions, you won't know where to go to get help and answers, and that's going to be sad, right? You don't want to do that. So, really, it's better to have someone listen to this with you, and then they can help you find answers at the library or online or, just to talk about it with somebody because the issues of abuse are really sensitive, and I just think everyone should be in a safe place when they're listening. So we're going to continue on here. We left off at the very end of the article. There's locating a treatment program for co-occurring disorders, post-traumatic stress disorder, and then group support for co-occurring substance abuse and mental health disorders. Then there's supporting recovery from alcohol and drug addiction and mental health problems, and helping a loved one with co-occurring disorders. So we'll just get right into that. I'm just reading right from the page, and you can go there too and check it out. Locating a treatment program for co-occurring disorders. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, that's SAMHSA, S-A-M-H-S-A, of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services offers an extensive listing of licensed certified drug treatment facilities by location through its Substance Abuse Treatment Facility Locator, and you can search specifically for programs that address co-occurring disorders. SAMHSA also operates a helpline, and I don't know if this is really a number or not because I haven't tried it. I haven't called it, so it's 1-800-662-HELP. And so, I don't know if it's a good number or not, right? And then they have, in English and Spanish, and also the TDD. And another place to look is your local state substance abuse agency. States often have their own listings, toll-free hotlines, and information about accreditation. And I think, even in front of the phone book with all the emergency numbers and stuff, there's, family crisis lines, drug abuse lines, and intervention lines, crisis lines. You can always try the front of your phone book too for that type of thing, right? Because there's lots of good numbers usually in the front of the phone books. I know I pulled mine out just so I could use them. Treatment programs for veterans with co-occurring disorders. Now this would be for veterans, right? Veterans deal with additional challenges when it comes to co-occurring disorders. The pressures of deployment, excuse me, my voice is terrible. I just woke up a little while ago and I'm trying to get my voice to go here. The pressures of deployment or combat can exacerbate underlying mental disorders, and substance abuse is a common way of coping with unpleasant feelings or memories. Often these problems take a while to show up after a veteran returns home and may be initially mistaken for readjustment. Untreated co-occurring disorders can lead to major problems at home and work and in your daily life, so it's important to seek help. It says veterans often benefit from treatment and support from specialized programs that address the unique stresses veterans face. So SAMHSA has little links here. You can click on their website. If you go to their website, they have the SAMHSA SAMHSA Veteran Resources and also Veteran Centers. So I think it's so important, right? Veterans come back with a lot of baggage, and they're just like people like you and me, and they have problems too at home and in their workplace, and then on top of that, they have the whole traumatic experience of being out on the front lines or doing what they do on their in their work. And so it's just unfortunate, and they do need help just like everybody else. And a lot of times I think veterans are, ashamed to say that they need help because they're supposed to be the strong ones. They're the troops, They're the ones who are supposed to be able to handle everything and save everybody, right? And they're just people like you and me. They need help and support. And I know that I can only imagine what happens out there, and I can't put myself in their place because I've never served, and I did want to. I wanted to go into the Air Force and the service. I wanted to get into any service, any branch of the service, because I really wanted to serve my country, and this was a long time ago, and they wouldn't take me because my ankle was ruined. So they said, no, you'd be too much of a risk out there. You could get people killed, and so we wouldn't allow that. But and I didn't want to go into civil service. I wanted to be out there on the front lines. So that at the time, that's what I wanted. So I didn't go into the service, but I wanted to. So all you veterans out there, my heart is with you, and I pray for you all the time, and I care about you very much. Post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is the most severe form of emotional and psychological trauma. Its primary symptoms include intrusive memories or flashbacks, avoiding things that remind you of the traumatic event, and living in a constant state of red alert. It says if you have PTSD, it's important to see a trauma specialist. And they have some links here you can read. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, symptoms, treatment, and self-help. We went through that not too long ago. It would be maybe last month or something, back in February, early part of February, or somewhere around there. I actually did quite a few shows on post-traumatic stress disorder from the articles here on Help Guide. There are some really good articles there. And then there's Heal My PTSD. That's Michelle Rosenthal. She is the founder of HealMyPTSD.com, and you can go and check her website out. She's got some great information. She is 25 years PTSD free, and she suffered with major PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and she is now 25 years free of it and helps other people to overcome and have a victorious life, been completely moving past post-traumatic stress disorder. So I recommend her to everyone. And here, I'll just keep reading. Group support for co-occurring substance abuse and mental health disorders. As with other addictions, groups are very helpful not only in maintaining sobriety, but also as a safe place to get support and discuss challenges. Sometimes treatment programs for co-occurring disorders provide groups that continue to meet on an aftercare basis. Your doctor or treatment provider may also be able to refer you to a group for people with co-occurring disorders. It says, while it's often best to join a group that addresses both substance abuse and your mental health disorder, 12-step groups for substance abuse can also be helpful. Plus, they're more common, so you're likely to find one in your area. These free programs, facilitated by peers, use group support and a set of guided principles, the 12 steps, to obtain and maintain sobriety. Just make sure your group is accepting of the idea of co-occurring disorders and psychiatric medication. Some people in these groups, although well-meaning, may mistake taking psychiatric medication as another form of addiction. You want a place to feel safe, not pressured. So that's the whole thing. We want to find a place that's going to be good for us, right? Locating a 12-step program in your area. It says 12-step programs such as Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous can be a good source of support as you go through recovery. There are also specific 12-step programs that address co-occurring substance abuse and mental health disorders. There's Double Trouble in Recovery and the Dual Recovery Anonymous, and those are just the links there you can go to on the website. Supporting recovery from alcohol or drug addiction and mental health problems. That's the next part of this article. Getting sober is only the beginning. Your continued recovery depends on continuing mental health treatment, learning healthier coping strategies, and making better decisions when dealing with life's challenges. And then they list some things here. They say get therapy or stay involved in a support group, follow doctor's orders, learn how to manage stress, know your triggers and have an action plan, and adopt healthy habits to support your mental health. And I'll just read through those. Get therapy or stay involved in a support group. It says, your chances of staying sober improve if you are participating in a social support group like Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, or if you are getting therapy. And then they have a thing we can read on psychotherapy and counseling, finding a therapist and getting the most out of therapy. And then they have follow doctor's orders. Once you are sober and you feel better, you might think you no longer need medication or treatment, but arbitrarily stopping medication or treatment is the common reason for relapse in people with co-occurring disorders. Always talk with your doctor before making any changes to your medication or treatment routine. And then learn how to manage stress. Stress is inevitable, so it's important to have healthy coping skills so you can deal with stress without turning to alcohol or drugs. Stress management skills go a long way towards preventing relapse and keeping your symptoms at bay. And then there's an article that you can click on the link, Stress Management, How to Reduce, Prevent, and Cope with Stress. And I did a whole week's worth of stuff on stress because stress is so huge in people's lives. I know it is in mine. My partner is terminally ill. For a while there, I've been out of a job, and stress was just major in my life, and it is for everybody. I mean, we all experience stress. So stress management's a huge thing, and I think if we could all find some good ways to deal with stress and to learn how to cope, there's coping skills we can develop, and especially if you grew up in an abusive home. There are lots of coping lists and ways to cope on lots of different websites, and I recommend them to everybody because I have actually over the years learned how to cope quite well. But I still think these coping lists are so awesome, right? Good idea to find something that works for you, and then you know that you can use that when you're just feeling out of control and that things are just getting worse or whatever. You can take a look at the situation, grab your coping list, and start going through the things that actually help to help us to remain calm, to remain grounded, to stay focused, and to keep moving forward. Right? It's just so important. Know your triggers and have an action plan. If you're coping with a mental disorder as well, it's especially important to know signs that your illness is flaring up. Common signs include stressful events, big life changes, or unhealthy sleeping or eating. At these times, having a plan in place is essential to preventing drug relapse. Who will you talk to? What do you need to do? So these are questions that we have to ask ourselves. Who are we going to talk to if we're having issues coping and we think we're going to start using drugs again or drinking alcohol? What are we going to do? What do we need to do to not do that? We have to have a plan in place, an action plan, and I think that is just so good. Adopt healthy habits to support your mental health. Basic self-care practices are essential to good mental and physical health. Eating right gives you plenty of energy and helps prevent mood swings. Sleep and exercise are also key to good mental health. Regular exercise is a powerful antidepressant, and sticking to a sleep routine helps balance mood. So there's lots of things that we can do to adopt healthy habits. And if you grew up in an abusive home or a home with neglect and maltreatment, a lot of times kids don't know, they aren't shown how to take care of themselves, and they're not taken care of. And really, kids learn at that age, before the age of 4, pretty much, they're going to learn everything that they are going to carry with them. And if you're mistreated as a child or just neglected, it's all abuse. You don't learn how to take care of yourself, and if your parents don't take care of themselves and they don't take care of you, it's a real challenge to learn how to take care of yourself and to learn to actually want to. That's my big thing. I have to work on that all the time. My mom did not take care of herself. It's not like she totally neglected us. I mean, she did feed us. She did the laundry. We were not taken to doctors and stuff because they were afraid of losing us to the state. So if we had a problem or if we had something, if we hurt ourselves or whatever, we were not taken to the doctor. And if we were sick, we were not taken to the doctor because they knew that it would just come back as child abuse, and they'd have to. That's what their fear was, that we'd be taken away from them. And they didn't want us anyway, so I don't know why they didn't let us go, but it's unfortunate. But the thing is we had to learn all that on our own, and we had to learn how to do it. And we had no good examples to go on. So except for some of my friends' parents, I actually sort of saw that they were looking out for themselves and their children, so that was a good example. But in my own home, I certainly didn't see any of that. So it was hard, and it still is. I have to keep on myself all the time to try to take care of myself. So it's a big issue. We have to adopt these healthy habits to support our mental health, and to support our bodies, our physical health, and our mental health, right? So important. So it says self-help for keeping recovery on track and symptoms in check. There's little links we can click on. Dealing with depression, self-help and coping tips, how to stop worrying, self-help strategies for anxiety relief, and bipolar support and self-help, living and coping with bipolar disorder. And I used to deal with depression and anxiety and all that, and maybe even some bipolar. I was never diagnosed, but the thing is I used to have a lot of problems, and I have worked through a lot of them just over the years, just by learning how to cope and learning how to love myself, really, and that life is good, and I really wanted to have a good life, and I just made that my main focal point, but not everybody can do that, and that's why, and I suggest getting help. It wouldn't have taken me so long had I gotten some help, so I really suggest that. It says helping a loved one with co-occurring disorders. Helping a loved one with both a substance abuse and mental health problem can be a roller coaster. Resistance to treatment is common, and the road to recovery can be long. It's common to feel isolated, overwhelmed, scared, and confused. The best way to help someone is to accept that what you can and cannot do. You cannot force someone to remain sober, nor can you make someone take their medication or keep appointments. What you can do is make positive choices for yourself, encourage your loved one to get help, and offer your support while making sure you don't lose yourself in the process. And it says seek support. Dealing with, excuse me, my voice is so bad. Dealing with a loved one's mental illness and substance abuse problem can be painful and isolating. Make sure you're getting the emotional support you need to cope. Talk to someone you trust about what you're going through. It can also help to get your own therapy or join a support group, right? So if you have someone in your home, maybe your husband or wife, could be your boyfriend, girlfriend, could be one of your children, or an aunt or an uncle or someone, right, who's in the home, who lives with you, or that has these co-occurring disorders, like drug abuse and mental health problems. You can easily have problems yourself dealing with that. I know that can happen, and it's so hard. I saw that in my own family, and our whole family was really suffering all the time and from everything. And my brothers did a lot of drugs, and it really put a lot of stress and strain on the family. There was already enough stress and strain without that. And, just watching what would happen to them, it was just horrible. Drug overdoses, and they were doing violent crimes. Not all of them, but some of them. And just getting into trouble. It was really hard to watch, and the police were always at the house and cuffing people and taking people out. And so I'm really quite surprised. That was later, though, when we were older. When we were younger, I know we would have been removed from the home at that point. But this was later on, and we had already moved out of the country, and we were out of the sort of the state. We were out of the social worker's eyes. We came back to the place where we lived, but it was a while later, and we actually got sort of out of from underneath the scope, right? So my brothers didn't get any help, and one went on to kill himself, and the other one went on to overdose in a shelter here in Calgary. And it's just sad, right? Because it's so hard when you're dealing with this sort of thing. We actually almost need to join a support group ourselves just to get through it, right? If you're someone who doesn't do drugs, but someone who does, it's very hard on a person to watch somebody destroy their lives. And, you can't force them to stop. They have to want to do that themselves. And my brothers, they never wanted to stop, and they had such a hard time in life, And I knew when I wanted to stop, it was for very specific reasons. So, I got off the drugs, but nobody actually asked me to, and nobody cared. I just did it myself because I wanted to have a good life, and I didn't want to go on to kill myself. So it was a huge decision to make, and I made it, and I was very serious about it. I'm sure that's the only way I got through it, was just to be so serious about getting sober and getting straight. I just wanted to be not high and not so screwed up all the time, and my body was really feeling the effects, and my mind and everything else, it was just horrible. And so I got off the drugs at the age of 21, and getting off the drugs wasn't too bad because I just stopped hanging around with the people that I was hanging around with. Unfortunately, I loved them all, and but I couldn't hang out with them any longer, and I just decided, no, I'm going to do it. So I stayed home. I stayed away from drugs. And every time I thought about doing drugs, I would just say no. I was really strong, and I really, because I wanted to have a good life. I never had one day as a person on the planet where I actually felt in control, and that I could walk free from all that, and I could have a good life. And so I wanted that so badly. I was craving it, and that's what happened. I just decided to do it. But not everybody can, so that's why we have to get help, right? Set boundaries. Be realistic about the amount of care you're able to provide without feeling overwhelmed and resentful. Set limits on disruptive behaviors and stick to them. Letting the substance abuse problem or mental illness take over your life isn't healthy for you or your loved ones. So we have, if you're someone who knows someone who's doing drugs in your home or in your life, you have to set boundaries and know what you can handle and what you can't, and setting limits on what you're going to accept from this person. I know my brothers were so violent. One of my brothers was actually, when I was about 12 years old, my brother held a knife to my sister's throat and was going to kill her if she didn't take him to do a drug round. He wanted to go rob a drugstore because he was a pill popper. And so, I had to talk him out of, no one would call the cops, of course, right? Because then we would have been removed from the home for sure. But my mom was like, we have to try to talk him into taking the knife away from her throat without killing her. And but my sister, she had to go drive him to do this, and she said she just dropped him off at the parking lot and took off, right? And this is just how crazy our family was. It was very, very crazy, abusive, really, from the brothers and from my parents, everybody. It was just, nobody was sticking together. We were all against each other, and it was not a real family, right? So it's just horrible. And, I just don't, if my heart's with you, if you experience that. So, and then when I grew up, I started hanging around with people who were doing drugs, and there was a lot of violence and people, getting out of control and losing control. And I was some of my friends were very violent, and it was spilling over to me, and I had already been treated quite badly as a child, and I thought, how many times can my head hit the wall without completely shattering? And I was really nervous. I thought, one of these days someone's going to slam my head and it's just going to go. I had so many, beatings to my head that I thought, I can't take this anymore, and I just couldn't handle the violence anymore, and I had to get away from those people. So it was a real decision to make, and I decided I wanted to have good things in my life. I wanted to have a normal life, be a woman, and move on with my life, and learn how to enjoy it, learn how to take care of myself, and learn how to maybe help other people. You know what I mean? It was a huge issue for me, and it did take me a long, long time to get over it. So we have to get help, right? Educate yourself. Learn all you can about your loved one's mental health problem, as well as substance abuse treatment and recovery. The more you understand what your loved one is going through, the better able you'll be able to support recovery. So important. Education is the key, man, regarding child abuse prevention, human rights abuse prevention, drug abuse, mental disorders. We all need to be educated on this stuff. And because, I know so many people who are suffering from all kinds of issues, and in my own family even. And so it's just so huge, right? It says, be patient. Recovering from addiction and mental health problems doesn't happen overnight. Recovery is an ongoing process that can take months and years, and relapse is common. Ongoing support for you and your loved one is as crucial as you work towards recovery. And then on this page, they have all kinds of links, to all kinds of treatment for co-occurring substance abuse. So this is www.helpguide.org, and I really highly recommend this website for all kinds of reasons. There's so much good information on there, and they don't mind people using this stuff as long as people tell them who it's from. And so it's helpguide.org, and I think they have some great information. I really enjoy this website. So we have about a minute left. I know it's we're done with this topic, drug abuse and addiction signs and symptoms, and also substance abuse and mental health. And I just hope everybody got something out of it. My brothers didn't really reach out and get help, and they were their lives were ruined from drug use. And I grew up with drug use, and I always swore I would never do drugs until I was about 12 years old, and because I saw what was happening to my brothers, and I didn't want to be part of that at all. But at the age of 12, I decided that for many reasons that I would start using drugs, and started getting high, and started really, it was an escape mechanism for me, and that's why my brothers were doing it too. I'm sure of it. It was just a way to escape, and so there's lots of young people out there doing that, and you have to wonder what kind of homes they've grown up in, right? And what their home life is. Kids don't generally want to hurt themselves unless somebody's shown them how to hurt themselves. So this is the whole issue, right? We have to look out for our kids. We have to look out for children. We have to look out for those in our lives. It really starts with our families. It starts within our own families, and then it starts with our own communities and our own towns, our own cities, where we have to make a difference. If we're going to change this world for the better, we really have to reach out, because these are people, not statistics. These are kids dying at the hands of parents and caregivers. These are our parents and caregivers doing drugs because they in turn were abused, and so they're trying to escape. And the whole society really, if we're going to make a dent in this thing, is going to have to really find out what's important to you, and then start working on it. Start in whatever way you can, because not everybody has the resources or the finances that to give. But the thing is, I think it starts in our own homes, and we have to treat people properly within our own homes. I know that none of this stuff would have happened probably had my parents treated each other right, and had they treated us right. My brothers, I would venture to say, that would not have happened. They would still be here today, and I wouldn't have had to deal with what I had to deal with for so many years. And so, but they didn't reach out and get help, and they couldn't take that hatred out of their heart. They hated each other. They hated us kids. I mean, they told us almost every day. And I know they loved us, but it was the fact they couldn't cope, right? So it's so important to reach out and get that help, and make sure that I know for myself, I had to let go of the hatred and the anger and the pain, because it was killing me, and I had a lot of hatred in my heart for what they did, and I actually had a lot of self-loathing and worthlessness and all that, and that was just from being mistreated as a child and told, that I was worthless, and this is the sort of thing, this happens to people, and I know it does. So make sure you reach out and get some help, and just, find what works for you, group support or a therapist, a counselor. And if you don't find a good counselor or therapist, keep looking, because there's got to be one out there. I know it. I've talked to quite a few, and there's some awesome people out there wanting to help people. So make sure you do get some help, and you got to stay with us. That's all there is to it. You can't keep moving forward and have a good life if you just give up. So that was my thing. I decided that I was going to fight to live, and I was going to fight to stay on this planet and get better, and I was just going to keep fighting and not give up. And, that was huge. When I finally decided to do that, that's when my healing started to happen, because I got angry enough to say, you know what, I'm not going to let them win. I'm going to win this fight, because I'm going to walk free, and I'm going to win, because I'm going to stay alive. Had I killed myself, I would have allowed my parents to win this fight, and I absolutely refuse to do that. I am like a dog with a bone, man. I'm staying here, and I am going to be helping people, as many people as I possibly can, to know that it's not, you're not alone. It wasn't your fault, and you really have to hang in there and stay alive, and move on to have a good life, and don't let those other people who have mistreated you win. And I still have to walk in love towards them, and because I don't believe in abusing anybody, so I have to be that counts for me too, right? So I have to walk in love, and I had to let all that anger and hatred go in order to allow love and compassion and light and mercy and truth come into my heart, right? And so that's what saved me, I'm sure of it, because I was going down, really fast, and it was killing me, literally, so physically and spiritually. So I just, if you talk to me, you can get a hold of me, Blog Talk Radio, or on Facebook, and just make sure that you stay well, get some help, and just keep walking forward one day at a time. That's all we can do. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.